Welcome to engineering.com. My name's Michael Alba, and today we're going to talk about the HP ZBook 14U G5. So let's break down the name. The ZBook lineup from HP is a lineup of mobile workstations that pack workstation performance into a premium form factor. So the 14U G5 is one product in that lineup. It's got a companion called the 15U G5. The only difference between those is the screen size. The G5 stands for Generation 5. One of the defining tenets of the ZBook lineup is that it has a premium design. And so that's what HP have gone for here. The design does look premium. It's got this nice aluminum chassis. It's pretty light, it's pretty thin. It looks good. Let's talk about the specs on the 14U G5. So the specs on this thing are actually pretty configurable. When you buy this computer, you can choose from an array of processors. You can add a discrete GPU or not. So it's going to depend on the actual model you get. But on the low end, you're looking at an Intel Core i5, a 7th generation, and on the high end, you're looking at an 8th generation Intel Core i7. This particular model has the 8th Gen i7. As for GPU, all models are going to come with the integrated Intel UHD 620. You can add an optional discrete GPU, in which case you'd be looking at the AMD Radeon Pro WX 3100, which is an entry-level GPU. It's designed for mobile workstations, but it's certainly not near the top of the line, and you're not going to get crazy performance out of this. But it'll be good enough for light modeling work. You can configure the memory anywhere from 4 gigabytes to 32 gigabytes, so that helps a lot. This particular model has 32 gigabytes, which is always great. The more memory, the better. As for storage, you can go up to a 1 terabyte solid-state drive, which is great. Now, as for the ports on this thing, you've got a pretty decent selection. So on the left side of the computer, you've got a lock, so you can lock your computer to your desk. You've got an inlet here for air intake, and here you've just got a standard USB 3. And then you have a smart card reader, so that's something that enterprise users might find comes in handy. And on the right side of the 14U G5, you've got a charging port, a USB Type-C with Thunderbolt 3 for hooking this thing up to an external monitor. You've got an HP dock connector, so that'll hook you up to an HP dock. An RJ45, so you can wire in Ethernet. An HDMI port, so you can hook this thing up to another external monitor. You also have another USB 3, a headphone jack, and a really cool feature is this SIM card slot you have on here. So that means put a SIM card in here, you can take advantage of mobile data, and that really expands the mobility of this thing. It means you're not tethered to a Wi-Fi connection. The 14U G5 isn't the only mobile workstation that has a SIM card slot or an eSIM, but it's not that common either, so it's a really good feature to have on here. As for the price of the 14U G5, the base model, the lowest possible configuration you can get is just over $1,000. The highest model you can get is just under $3,500. So that high end is reasonable compared to other mobile workstations. That lower end is very reasonable. And that $2,500 of wiggle room in the middle gives you a lot of room to play with and will satisfy a lot of different types of budgets. So let's talk about the inside of this computer. The 14U G5 packs a 14-inch 1920 by 1080p display. This isn't the highest resolution display you can find in a mobile workstation today, so it was a little disappointing. It looks fine, but if you're used to a 4K, you'll notice it. And there are computers out there that offer a 4K display. It is a touchscreen, however, which is nice because it's always great to just be able to scroll with a finger or zoom or whatever you want to do. The keyboard is a feature that we actually really liked about the 14U G5. It's a really good keyboard. Good travel, good spacing between the keys, just a great, comfortable typing experience. There was one thing that annoyed me about this keyboard, just due to the positioning of the keys. I would often find myself hitting home when I meant to hit delete, and that would bring me to the front of the line and just mess up whatever I was trying to type, which was annoying and happened a lot, and it's only ever happened to me on this keyboard. But maybe that's just my problem. Either way, it's a comfortable keyboard and I really do recommend it. Likewise, the trackpad is really comfortable. It's among the best trackpads I've ever used, and I'm pretty picky when it comes to trackpads, but this feels really smooth, it works really well, super responsive. It's a really good trackpad. So how does the ZBook 14U G5 actually hold up as a mobile workstation? We put it to the test with a number of different CAD programs. We tried out SolidWorks, Key Creator, Onshape, and Fusion 360, and we didn't really have any problems with any of them. I mean, we were just doing some light design work, and it got the job done. There was the occasional lag, but overall, it works. We ran a benchmark, the Spec APC SolidWorks 2017 benchmark. That tests out the performance on SolidWorks 2017 specifically, but that gives you an idea how it's going to perform in CAD applications. And the 14UG5 did not perform great. There was only one other published result for a mobile workstation, and that was the ThinkPad P52, and that scored way better. That's a slightly more expensive computer, but that's also got a much better GPU, the Quadro P2000, compared to the Radeon WX3100 in this thing. If you're just looking to do some light design work, do something at the airport, for example, make a quick change to a file, yeah, this thing will get the job done. But if you're planning on getting this and sitting down with it for 8 hours a day in SolidWorks, you're better off looking at something like the ThinkPad P52. The battery on the 14UG5 is not great. We averaged about 3 hours in our tests. Obviously, those results are going to vary. We had 2 external monitors plugged into this thing and some other peripherals that were drawing a little bit of the power, but still, 3 hours it's not great. And this thing also doesn't offer a swappable battery like some other mobile workstations. So that means you're going to have to lug around your charger with you if you're expecting to get more of a performance out of it. Okay, as much as I want to like the 14UG5, I had no shortage of problems when using this computer. This thing would just randomly glitch on me all the time. So many things went wrong over the course of my month or so testing it that I really can't give it a glowing endorsement. The screen brightness keys stopped working. The fingerprint scanner stopped working. I had a ton of problems with Bluetooth. I had problems with the external displays. This thing would randomly freeze up on me. I would get this annoying pop-up several times a week. I mean, this thing drove me crazy. I wish I didn't have to say that because I like this computer. I like the look of it. I like the keyboard. I like the trackpad. The specs could be a little higher. I mean, you could be looking at a higher GPU, you could be looking at a higher display resolution, but overall, it's a nice computer. And it's one that I would consider using if it didn't constantly irritate me. But unfortunately, this thing did constantly irritate me. Maybe that's just this review unit that I was looking at, but my experience was not overwhelmingly positive. I have to say that, but I wish I didn't have to. Overall, the ZBook 14UG5 is a great attempt at a mobile workstation. It looks great, it feels great keyboard, great trackpad, the screen could be a little higher res, the GPU could be a little higher performing, but overall it's a good computer. I just wish that I hadn't had so much frustration when using it and so many glitches and problems. If I hadn't, I would say this is a perfect computer for a certain type of user, say an engineering manager who doesn't need to spend all day in CAD, but who can open up a design file if they want to, who can be out on the road and not have to worry about connecting to Wi-Fi because you got the SIM card slot in here. If you're that type of user and you're willing to take a gamble on the performance of this thing, or if you're just more patient than I am, then yeah, this is a good computer for you. But I would just be cautious and I would look to other mobile workstations first. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.